All my friends keep on saying that I'm better off alone. They don't know what it feels like, but I do. So you faded out while I watched it down, obsessed with myself. Wanna hit the reverse on what's broken. Can we be strangers against our friends like a moon?
So it's been a little while since I last made a video for this channel. And part of the reason for that is I'm kind of beginning like a brand new season, so to speak. So I've been doing a lot of content planning and that sort of thing. Plus, if you've watched I think it was the last video I did, you saw that I'm starting to, as you can tell, get into archery. It's a nice little way to explore around Idaho. There's a lot of places out here where you can go and shoot. There's just a ton of wide open spaces, so it's kind of a perfect hobby if something you like to do is go out and explore. But as I was doing some of the planning for some of this upcoming content, one of the things I started thinking about a little bit was, should I do YouTube Shorts? And so there's a little bit of debate back and forth, particularly because YouTube seems to be pushing YouTube Shorts so hard to creators. I thought I would consider it. So when I was considering whether or not to do YouTube Shorts, it led me down a series of strategies, right? Because what I typically do when I'm creating videos for this channel is I kind of map them out. I do like a list of like batch ideas, so like 5, 6, 7 different video ideas, and then over the course of the next several weeks, I start creating them. And so what this got me thinking is, okay, so maybe I can just kind of interweave or fit YouTube Shorts into that schedule and then maybe intersperse them throughout some of the regular full-length videos that I create. But then the more I thought about it, I just figured, you know what? I just don't think I'm going to do any YouTube Shorts. So here's why. Okay, so my first reason, and I fully admit that this could totally just be like my inner boomer in terms of a reason not to like YouTube Shorts, but it's one of the reasons why I increasingly don't like TikTok and may not even be a great reason at all. And that reason is vertical video. I've talked about it a little bit in other videos, but I just do not like vertical video. As human beings, we have eyes that are, side by side. We don't have eyes that are stacked on top of each other. And as a part of that, we have very peripheral-based vision, which is why when you go to a movie theater, you don't see a tall pillar in front of you that you're watching the video on. You're watching it in a super anamorphic scope widescreen because that's the way our eyes are. That's how we view life. And so it makes sense that we would view content the same way. I guess I should actually, shoot some shots while I'm here instead of just talking the whole time. But then I guess, talking is kind of part of the reason I'm, doing this video. But it doesn't just have to do with kind of the cinematic aspect of it, though I do think that's really important. But it kind of comes into a practical application as well for the type of content that you create. Right now I'm out here like shooting arrows out in the wilderness, and there's a lot of landscape around me. Other things I do a lot of is tutorials, and with tutorials you're showing a computer screen, which makes absolutely no sense to have in a vertical format. So by the way, I do realize that this is not an archery video, but I figured I might as well hit 2 birds with 1 stone, and I'm not actually shooting birds, but, so 2 birds with 1 arrow, I guess you could say. But yeah, it's just a great setting. It's a lot better than sitting in the office. Every single video that I shoot, though, I'll probably be doing most of them in the studio or in my office here moving forward. So that's a big part of it. It's kind of the art of the way that video is laid out in a vertical orientation. Plus, it does kind of start to encourage a certain type of content. So you see a lot of people who are only talking to the camera, who are only dancing or doing videos that are very of a particular style and genre. But all of that aside, the other piece that I'm not a super huge fan of is the fact that they are, YouTube Shorts, which of course implies that they are very short videos. And I think that there are certain circumstances wherein a short video makes sense. I think that there's certain times when having a shorter video actually is a way to provide value. However, for the types of videos that I create, I create videos that are diving in pretty complex topics. So whether I'm showcasing a piece of software, whether I'm showcasing a tutorial that's a new app or product that I'm creating, or behind the creative process, there's a lot of pieces that I need to be able to outline. So it usually goes in 3 different phases when I'm creating a video. Usually it's the introduction, right? So it's where I'm going to talk about the concept of whatever app or tool or tutorial I'm about to go through, why it's important, why it's useful, why you should care what I'm about to go through. And then you've kind of got the meat of that particular item that I'm talking about, which is going to be the tutorial itself. I'm going to showcase the app. I'm going to do the teaching. I'm going to do all of the elements that help actually provide the core, the bulk of the value of that video. And then the third and last is, of course, I've kind of got a wrap up. I've got, links in the description to all the tools that we talked about. I've got, again, just kind of a conclusion, but again, it's really short typically. And so all in all, a lot of my videos, I try to make them, as short as I can, but the problem is that they usually end up being anywhere from maybe like 6 minutes on the super short end of the scale all the way up to 10, 15 minutes or even longer. So you can end up having a video that is 10, 15 minutes. I try not to make them any longer than they need to be. I like to make them as short as they can be while still being useful, but it's just difficult depending on how complex the topic is in order to condense it. And when it comes to YouTube Shorts, they can be anywhere from, 10 seconds to less than a minute, which when it comes to educational or teaching type content is essentially impossible to do in that format. Now, part of the other reasons why I was actually giving YouTube Shorts a chance and why I was heavily considering them was because at first, some of the popularity and some of the large amounts of views that I was getting as I was doing some basic testing with TikTok. But one of the things that I started to think about as I was doing more work on TikTok was why it was that I was getting certain videos that were super high, relatively speaking, like over 1,000 or thousands of views, and then getting some that would get like 10 or 15. And then even among those TikTok videos that I was getting several thousand or over 1,000 views on with basically no followers, I was thinking to myself, if they're getting all of those views, why is it that they're getting like no engagement? Why is it that nobody is going through and like visiting my YouTube channel or my website, or nobody's leaving a comment? It doesn't look like, though the stats appear to be high, it doesn't appear that any human beings are here. So I'm not going totally into conspiracy theory mode. I'm not leveling any accusations or anything at TikTok or how it works, but it kind of got me thinking that there was the possibility that there could be some sort of boosting of brand new posts, of maybe even inflating the number of views to try to get people hooked to the platform so that they would keep creating content for the hopes of getting more of those, views. So it's totally possible that that has nothing to do with that kind of conspiracy theory, right? That they are actually inflating numbers or something like that. It could have nothing to do with that. It could simply be that the way that the platform is designed for users, and what I'm talking about is short form vertical content, is not meant to get somebody hooked on a particular creator. What it is meant for instead is to recommend a ton of different creators so that you're scrolling through content and consuming that content so quickly that you don't even have time to process who this person is, much less go through to their website, or much less to actually care about some of the longer form content that they create. And so that's kind of the way I feel about YouTube Shorts, in the sense that it seems to be trying to ride that wave of short form content, that same short form content wave that you find over at TikTok. But again, I think a lot of those concerns that somebody could have about TikTok would also apply to YouTube Shorts. So after giving it some thought and some consideration, essentially I came to the realization that that type of content, at least for me, doesn't really fit in with the type of content that A, I really want to create, and B, I think is very useful to you. So one of the things I'm definitely realizing is that I'm not shooting very well while talking to the camera. That's the first time I've ever tried doing this before. I'm not even that great when I'm actually focusing, but much less when I'm actually talking to the camera. Yeah, so that's maybe not even 20 yards out. So yeah, definitely not, doesn't help to be talking to the camera while shooting, that's for sure. So I guess the purpose of this video was mainly to just first off tell you why I'm personally not going to be doing YouTube Shorts myself. But in addition to that, if you're somebody who creates content, if you create video content of any kind, and you're thinking about doing it on TikTok, you're thinking about doing YouTube Shorts, hopefully this will provide you some things to think about as to whether or not that's actually going to be helpful for the type of content that you create. If you create content that works great in 10, 15-second increments, and that's the type of content that you want to create, then more power to you. But I think for most content out there, particularly if you're trying to teach a subject, and you're not necessarily there to entertain and or you just want people to be engaged longer, it might make sense to just stick to creating regular old widescreen long-form videos. So as I mentioned, I've got quite a few videos that are in the planning stages and should be coming in the weeks to come. So as always, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.
Of you.